Oh, hello there. How's it going? Do we have sound? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Me? Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
Talking to people.
I'm like, are we having tech issues right out of the gates? Because I'm pretty sure we checked everything to make sure we were good.
We did. We're good.
Good. Okay, perfect. So, everyone, this is what happens when you're going live. Anything could happen because you're live. And guess what? You can't edit it after the fact. It just is what it is. So, for any of you guys who are terrified of going live, just tell yourselves in advance that things going to screw up and it is what it is and it's perfect the way that it is, and just let it go and go with it. Roll with it.
Roll with it, baby.
This is Mandy and I's third hangout in the last 3 weeks because both of us are incredibly excited about her new book. She has shown more bravery than I have seen many people in my whole life show by writing this book and publishing it and putting it out there in the world. And the aftermath, what's going on, the ripples that are going through her family, the way that it is impacting the people in her orbit, just shows how incredibly powerful the actions that we take are. And I think a lot of people walk through this life with this idea thinking that the pain they carry, the trauma they carry, the issues that they have, the unresolved past experiences that they have are not impacting the people around them. And Mandy is a powerful testament to how the trauma we carry does impact those around us. And we don't realize how much until we actually walk the path to heal and expand and change our programming, which changes our behavior and our whole reality. And then you see how it now completely changes the behavior and the relationships and everyone around you. And we get to be in a beautiful place to celebrate that and to really look at it through these interviews with Mandy's beautiful family members who are getting to share their stories of how this book has impacted them. And one of the reasons why this book was published was, one, for Mandy to share her story, but two, to inspire those of you who are carrying pain to walk a healing path. So these interviews are a beautiful thing that you who are carrying pain can bathe in to see what it looks like coming out the other side. Because one of the reasons a lot of people don't walk the healing path is they're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of what the world is going to look like when they change. Well, Mandy is showing you what it looks like. And I'm just telling you, it's really amazing. It's jaw-dropping, it's goosebumpy, it's tear-jerkery, but it's like in the right way. We're shedding beautiful, happy tears because of the outcome of this healing journey. And her and I will be walking the healing path for the rest of our lives. This is just the beginning. So this beautiful life story that Mandy has shared with the world is called Fertile Darkness. And just so you know, that's a picture of her. I am taking my time and nurturing this book. I could have eaten it all up in a day, but every time I read something, I take a moment to absorb it and think about it and put myself in her shoes. And it's one of those books that the content is so intense that you're going to want to take time to digest and reflect and try to put yourself in her shoes. And if you've been in these shoes and you've experienced this pain, I think you're going to have more respect for her than anybody else because you know what it's like to experience this pain. So for any of you guys that have gone through serious trauma and want inspiration to walk the healing path, go and get this book because it will be such a powerful source of inspiration for you. And I'm going to put up the QR code while we're doing this interview so that you guys can scan it and go and get it from Amazon. Okay. So I'd like to welcome one more time, definitely not the last time, Mandy Dollarhide. Thank you so much for joining us, love.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. You, my sweet goddess.
I'm so incredibly excited to have the opportunity to not just talk more about your book and how powerful it is, but to have an opportunity to have a conversation with your other half, with that person that has walked this path with you for the last 30 years of your life and knows what it was like to meet the younger Mandy that was in turmoil and going through the trauma, because you were still walking the trauma when you met. And you guys are still together today, and a testament to how you can overcome anything together if you really love each other and you work together. So, would you do us the honor of introducing your partner into the scenario?
This is my person. Come on, take a nice little seat. Yes, this is my man. He's been with me for 30 years. And
married 30 years.
Yeah, married 30 years, and we were together, I don't know, 8 months before that. So best friends before that. But yes, so this is Jonathan.
Hola.
Oh, I'm so incredibly grateful that you agreed to come on and to share your story. I know that you're not, a huge extrovert the way that Mandy and I are by nature. Yeah, exactly. And yet the beauty that's been shared in the interviews with your daughters, them having an opportunity to be able to speak their truth and talk about what their lives were like before, when Mandy was motivated by the trauma versus what life is like now, and how it's had an impact on themselves and how they see their own actions, and how it's nurtured and really enabled the relationships to grow, has been so beautiful. And just sitting on this side of it, seeing the girls talking and bonding over this book being published and how it's supported them has just been so incredibly beautiful for me to witness. And so for you to be willing to, to come here and to be unfiltered and to share your story as well, I think is such a powerful testament to people that are in relationships where there is trauma that is contributing to the relationship. And a lot of the time, sadly, trauma breaks up relationships, right? And in your situation, you've had this incredible loyalty that is beyond description. It doesn't make any sense. The amount of shit you have tolerated, and you have stayed with her through all of it. And it's beautiful that you have held on and that you have believed in her and you have loved her, even though she has outright hurt you in profound ways. And you've been able to heal through that together and come out the other end, showing your children, your babies, what it looks like to forgive and to love and to work through things together, because you see too much today in the world when somebody makes a mistake and somebody does to hurt the other person, they just go, yeah, you know what? I'm out. Forget it. I deserve better. I deserve more respect. And I think Mandy can speak to this more than anything else. I think anything that she did over the last 30 years that you guys have been married and the duration of time that you guys have been together, she was never outright out to get you.
No.
Right? She was subconsciously acting from a place of trauma and pain. And I think that's something that you probably understood from the beginning.
I did. I absolutely did.
So what was Mandy like when you met her? How old was she when you met her?
She was 17. I was 16.
Nice.
And I remember very vividly the first time I saw her. I know she talks about this in her book, but I was in a band at the time and I played drums, and we practiced in a basement, and my drums were right across from the entrance to this basement. And I remember seeing her come down and walk through that basement door for the first time. And blew me away because, for one thing, I'd never seen this girl in my life. And I immediately had a vision of us being married. And I'm like, what? What is this shit? But and then I later saw her oldest daughter, Crystal. She was like a year and a half old, I believe, at the time. And me being a good little Christian boy at the time, I was like, oh, she's married. What in the world was that? But throughout the course of the evening, found out she was not married. And she was just in a really terrible relationship, getting out of that at the time. But yeah, that was pretty wild.
So you had a really, really powerful connection with Mandy right from the very beginning when you first saw her. Like you just knew that there was something there, and you had this powerful vision, which is really, really incredible. Being Christian, what was that like for you? How did you reconcile that?
It was really strange. But I guess the part of Christianity I was a part of was something called charismatic. So they believed in like gifts of the spirit and visions and dreams and all that stuff. So that wasn't really foreign to me at the time, but I thought it was just weird because I'd never had any or experienced anything like that with somebody I just saw for the first time. That was wild.
So you guys were absolutely meant to be.
I think so.
Yeah, it's crazy because I say this in my book too, that my grandmother passed away when I was 8, I believe, and she was someone that I felt like loved me more than life itself, and I felt that love from her. And when she passed away, it was like for the last, like, I don't know, 10 years or 12 years, I'm like, I feel like she had like something to do with this. Like, I feel like she actually, because on her deathbed, she was telling my mom how special I was and how to protect my heart. And I feel like she had a hand in this. I feel like she said, we're going to choose that one. That's the one she needs, like, to help her in her life's journey. Like, I do. I mean, I feel that very strongly. Some people might think that's weird, but I think I love that. I know, I'm just weird. I love my weird. You do too.
So what was it like for you, Mandy, when you met Jonathan the first time? Was it as profound for you?
Yeah, like it was scary for me because like he said, I was coming out of I had known nothing but abusing and abandoning myself. So when I saw him, I made a promise to myself that I was not going to date again because I didn't trust myself, because every situation or every relationship that I was in, it was just abusive, and it was toxic. So I was terrified of another relationship, but at the same time, I wanted to have not only a partner for me, but someone to be beside my daughter and, like, be there for her too. And I wanted that more than anything. And so I was terrified. I was scared when I saw him because the feelings and emotions that came over me at the time, it was such a powerful feeling that I ran up. I mean, I sat there for a second, and then I moved behind the beam. There was a beam in the basement. So I would put myself behind it so I just wouldn't stare at him the whole time. And so, and then I ran up the stairs and went to the bathroom and just fell on my face and said, what is this? What am I doing? I am terrified right now. I'm scared of myself. I'm scared of being hurt again. I'm scared of hurting others or hurting myself. And, like, I was just terrified of having another relationship. He scared me so much so that when he would walk up, I was so nervous around him that whenever he would walk up, I had never done that with, like, I don't think I'd really done that with anyone. But every time he'd walk up, I'd walk the other way. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, I was so, like, it was scary. Yeah, so yeah, that feeling and that pull that I had towards him was so strong, stronger than anything I've ever experienced.
So if you kept walking away from him, how did you guys end up together? How did this work out?
Good question.
I'm like, hold on a second. So he was clearly trying to approach, but you were just like, nope. I'm too scared. It's all been bad. Nope.
That's the way it was.
Teenage Mandy, you just being like, I'm high, and you just be like, yeah.
It was like that.
Yeah. I'd be like, what is she doing? Because I would hear from our other friends how much she liked me.
Yeah. I made sure that happened.
Like,
I wanted them to,
sure?
I wanted it to get back around to him.
I mean, they're saying this, but I go and I talk to her and she just runs away. So like, are we like in grade 2? Or like, I'm not sure. Do we have to just message each other all the time? Like just use friends to communicate? So how did it all work out?
We just eventually started becoming friends. And
well, I'll tell him first about
the friend date.
The friend date.
Go ahead.
I made a friend date with him just to keep down the gossip, because I didn't really want everybody to be like, oh my God, they like each other and all this stuff, because I was still really scared. So I told him, I was like, I know you've heard that I like you, but can we just go on a friend date? Because I have some things I just need to share with you. And he was like, sure. So we went on a friend date and we went out to eat. And he was eating. He was just eating. I couldn't eat. I was so nervous I couldn't eat. And so I told him,
I'm stuffing my
face, and I couldn't eat. And I said to him, I was like, I said, here's the deal. I wanted to tell him how much I liked him, but I didn't want to scare him away. I was known to scare people away, with how much zeal and passion and all the things that I have. And like, I just didn't want him to take off and be like, I'm done. So I was like, I really want to be friends with you. I think you're a really cool person. And I just want us to get to know each other. So he's eating the whole time and he's just acting like, cool, cool. Like he just acted like he didn't even, I literally walked out of that thinking, I'm never going to talk to him again. He doesn't give a shit. It's a truth.
Whereas on your side, Jonathan, you were just playing it cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to play it cool. I don't want to be too intense. I don't want to scare her away because I like her a lot too. So I'm just going to be cool. I'm cool, bro. I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then she's all like, well, he just doesn't care. Cool. All right.
But personality-wise, I've always been very even keel. I'm not overly excited about things, and I'm not overly down about things. I'm pretty even keel. But she took that as I didn't give a fuck. But I was not trying to make that come across at all.
You're just a chill human.
Right.
I just thought, and yeah, I mean, I was reading my interaction with him, and I was thinking, oh God, I just made an idiot of myself. He's never going to talk to me again, or I'm probably never going to talk to him again. I feel so stupid. That's the way I walked away from that. And what was it? A couple of weeks later or something that he, on Valentine's Day, and I wrote that in my book too, but on Valentine's Day, he called me. That was back whenever, everybody had voicemails on their like plugged in phones in the wall. Whatever you call that. Landline. But anyways, I came home from church that day and he had a message on the machine and it said, hey Mandy, this is Jonathan. I just wanted to wish you and Crystal a happy Valentine's Day. And I about hit the floor because in where I come from, you don't call somebody on Valentine's Day if you don't like them, And I was like, what the hell is this? Is this like this? That really scared me because I'm like, wait, what are we doing right now? But at the same time, I wanted to talk to him so bad. And I didn't. I made myself wait. Everything in me was itching to call him. And I didn't. I told myself, no, you're going to wait to see if he calls you because we're not chasing anymore. And so he did. He called me the next day and we began to talk and began to get to be like, have a very good friendship.
That's so beautiful. And as we know, it eventually did blossom into a relationship. How long were you guys dating before you guys got married?
So we started in what, May? And
Yeah,
we started dating like in May. We were best friends. We were
May of 93.
93. Yeah. We
And
were
then we were
inseparable.
married in February of 94.
Yeah. So what's that? June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Yeah.
Like 9
9
months.
months.
9 months. So for somebody who was really terrified of a relationship and everything, you did jump in pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Very fast. Because the more that I realized how much we were meant to be together, the more I couldn't stay away from him. Like we really were inseparable.
That's so beautiful. It just shows you how incredibly powerful a soul connection can really be, even with all of the trauma and stuff. It's there and it creates fear, and yet the connection overrides all of it. Like there's just nothing stopping it. You know what I mean? And I relate to that so much, because with my love that I've been with for 10 years, I was very much like you. I'd been through 12 years of relationships and not one of them had lasted longer than 6 months. And I was a single mother. And so I was dealing with, protecting my child as well, and not wanting to bring somebody into his life that was going to cause issues. And he was 13 at the time. So dealing with a teenage boy and dating is fun. So I didn't want a relationship at all when Scott came into my life. But he actively chased me for 4 years, and it took, it took 5 years of us being together for me to actually decide that I wanted to get messy and tangled, to the point where if the relationship didn't work out, it was going to be disgusting messy to get out of it. And it was taking a trip to Thailand on my own, because Scott was working in film and he wasn't able to get away in order to come on the trip with me. So I went on my first solo trip to Asia. And if you're going to travel as a woman on your own, guys, Thailand's the place to go. If you're going to wing it, Thailand is the place to go. Because Thailand is one of the few countries on the planet where men are targeted, not women. The whole country is targeted to take the man and empty his wallet. So nobody cares about the women. And being almost 6 feet tall, that helps too. I'm like literally a foot taller than all the humans in that country. So I felt pretty safe. But I was at a place called Wat Arun, which is in Bangkok, for any of you guys that have ever been there. And Wat Arun is one of the most beautiful temples I've ever seen. And it was just this beautiful place. And I found myself wanting to share everything that I was experiencing with Scott, and he wasn't there. And I sat down up against the wall of the temple, and I was looking at the temple grounds, and I was watching people explore it and looking at these couples enjoying it together. And all I could think of is, I want Scott here. Like, I wish he was here. And so I sent him a message, and he was sleeping at the time because there's like a 13-hour time difference. And I told him how much I loved him, and I told him how much he was my world. And I said, I'm ready to get disgusting, messy, and tangled with you, to the point where if we have to get out of this, it's just going to be a horrible mess. And I came home and we proceeded to get joint bank accounts and all that, right? And just like get entangled. But I mean, I know what it's like to have that like drive, that connection. And there's nothing that you can do to avoid it. You're going to come together, but it doesn't stop the fear. It doesn't stop the trauma from playing a factor in the relationship. Wow. And that's what I want to explore with both of you guys, because there was nothing that was going to stop the two of you from ending up together. Clearly, the emotion, the pull was so powerful that you both were helpless to stop it. Right? Like, you were coming together, whether you had logic around it or not, or trauma or what, it doesn't matter what your brains were saying. Your hearts were like, and go. And there was no stopping that train.
Nope.
But what was it like being married? I want to hear this from Mandy's perspective and from Jonathan's perspective. Mandy dealing with the trauma that you were dealing with, and obviously Jonathan being on the receiving end of being with somebody that was living with trauma, that was a human wrecking ball. And I'm saying this with love, but she was a human wrecking ball, right?
I was. And
You can speak up first.
well, the thing was, I didn't know I was. I didn't know I was a human wrecking ball. I didn't know. When you said that you had talked to Scott about everything, like let's get messy and let's dive in and let's do this and get entangled. And I didn't know I didn't know. I had no idea what a mess I was. I didn't know how broken I was. I didn't know, sometimes I don't like the word broken, but I really was like, there was so many the way I see it is whenever I got with him, now I see that I was just in pieces, like in shambles of a person. So I had no idea what I was going into this with. I remember when we were dating, we were also like I said, we had like a very Christian background. So while we were dating, I remember we started having sex and stuff, and every time we would have sex, we would fall on our face and repent and ask God to forgive us.
Oh God, we're so sorry.
We're so sorry. We're such sinners. All the bullshit, which is such bullshit. Anyways, and because I look back on it now, and I'm like, man, we should enjoy the hell out of that, you know. But anyways, like, you know, and I remember like, you know, he would tell me like, well, because his parents, we thought we had a pregnancy scare before Faith was born. So his parents, you know, told us we had to create some distance between us. And he would sneak over to my house and see me all the time. And I would just like, you know, I remember, this is so crazy because I remember like begging him, please, please, will you make love to me? Please, will you? And he was like, well, we've been sinning. You know, this is what we were taught. You know,
Right.
we've been sinning against God. This is not God. You know, this is not. And I'm talking about the broken, shambled me. Just looked at him and said, please, because everything in me needed to feel like connected to something. You know. And he did, you know, he was like, okay.
Damn it. All right.
I know that was such a
rubber arm.
But that represents
I was 16.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking to a horn dog teenager, like.
On top of that, a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, like that. So when I described that, I'm talking about when I look back on that now, I see that I was in shambles. I needed something, somewhere, someone to tell me that I was worthy of something. You know, I was just in shambles and pieces. So when we got married, I remember our wedding day. I cried the whole day. I couldn't stop crying, but it was only because I was so happy.
Yeah.
Because I had met this person that I knew would be beside me, wouldn't abuse me. You know, all the abuse I had taken on or had like in the past, I knew something in me said, this is the one that's not going to do this, you know? And I was so happy. And so I just kept crying. I had wads of tissue underneath my bouquet.
I can so visualize that right now. For those of you who don't know Mandy very well, she's a crier. It's just
yeah, I am.
The emotions are like right there on the surface, ready to come out at any point.
It's true, and I used to think it was such a curse, but I know it's such a blessing because I get to
blessing. It's
I get to release really quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it was really special. But when we got married, we were just living life, you know, basically. He was the highlight of my life though. Like he would come home from work and just a really, you know, we were just doing the best we could. We were poor. I mean, like were we poor? We were poor. But like as far as money's concerned, but we were always rich inside. But we had this 70s trailer and it had 70s wallpaper. It had been new carpet and everything, but it had 70s wallpaper. And I loved that trailer because it was our very first place. It was like so special to me. But I remember like us dancing in the living room with our kids and like, you know, we always tried to make the best of all of it. You know, we were just living life. Yeah. And going through the motions. But I remember him coming home like I couldn't wait for him for 5 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever it was for him to come home because my person was there, you know. So I didn't really realize how much pain I had, but at the same time, there was a lot of I would say we fought a lot.
Yeah.
We fought a lot. Um, I mean, I would drive him to the point of like he never hit me, but he did hit the wall because he was so frustrated with my self-hatred.
Right.
I drove because of as much as I hated myself, he couldn't, you know, he couldn't handle it because he's looking at me with all of this love, and I'm just wanting to just take myself out of the world, you know, like. And so, do you want to speak on that?
You had it's really interesting because your daughters were talking about that as well, how frustrated they were with you, that they loved you so much and you hated yourself so much, and it made them so angry at the self-loathing that you had. And it's so, like, when you look at that contrast, you had all of this unconditional love for this man who was your world. When you describe the way you reacted to him, you sound like a dog who's just like missing your man so much every second that he's gone, staring out the window, waiting for him to come home. And the second that he does, you're like, my human, you know what what it reminds me of. It's comical, but it's so true, right? You were like, had all this boundless love for this person, and he was just your everything, and your day lit up the second he came home. And tell me I'm not describing a dog right now, but but at the same time, there was this like deep self-loathing for yourself, you know what I mean? So I can imagine the discord and the challenges for you. Jonathan, can you share what it was like for you, you know, having this love for this beautiful woman and the struggles that you were going through, seeing her not loving herself and not being able to get that love you had for her to like make a freaking impact?
Yeah, that it was really hard for me because I saw who she was.
Yeah.
I knew who she was. And this person that absolutely hated themselves with a passion, I'm like, this is just, I mean, some of the things that she would say about herself would literally infuriate me because I'm like, you're talking about my love.
Yeah.
And like she said, even to the point where I'd punch a hole in the wall just to get it out.
Yeah. I completely respect that. Absolutely. That must have been phenomenally challenging for you. Now, how long after you guys got married, this is for Jonathan, did you become aware of the fact that she was essentially broken and self-loathing?
Well, probably within the first year of our relationship, I would say, our marriage. I mean, when we were dating, I kind of got a little hint of that kind of stuff, but it wasn't nearly like it was when we got married. But yeah, it wasn't long after we were married that I started to notice how bad the self-hatred was. And you couldn't talk her out of it. It didn't matter how many times I told her how beautiful and amazing she was. She couldn't hear it.
It falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you tell yourself when you discovered that she was self-loathing that kept you in the relationship?
Well, like I said, I always knew who she was. Under all of that, I knew who she was. So I wasn't going anywhere. I'm in this.
Even though the behavior essentially created so much anger in you and it was to your detriment, ultimately, I mean, she did hurt you in a really profound way, even though you experienced all of that because you knew who she was, you stayed by her side.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, what happened? What is it, 15 years ago, Mandy?
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
jeez.
Wait, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say I was so young. I'd never been in a really committed relationship up until that point.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect or how to handle it or anything. We were just learning on the fly. I was a fucking kid.
It's really funny because I haven't had the opportunity to dive too much into your background, but like Jonathan, you remind me so much of my Scotty. And I've had that man in my life for 10 years, and he had to fight a battle to really earn my unconditional love and acceptance. When we first started dating, I told him that I was putting him on probation because none of my relationships lasted longer than 6 months. So I was like, if you last 7 months, we'll talk. And the running joke is that he's going to be on probation till he's dead because he's never getting off probation. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a funny thing, but at the same time, it just shows you the pessimism that I had towards love and how hard he had to work to earn a spot in my life, and for me to truly let go and allow myself to be everything and allow him to be everything to me. And it's such a big deal, and it didn't have anything to do with anything that he said or did. It had everything to do with the healing path that I walked. But the sustaining force was the unconditional love that he had for me, no matter what. Every time we would get into an argument and I would turn around and go, fuck it, we're not doing this anymore, I can't do this, and I would pull away, and I know you did this, Mandy, like I did, right? He would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't be so extreme. Like, we can talk through this. Like, don't pull the trigger. Don't put the gun to my head yet. Like, we can get through this. The man has unconditionally loved me through everything and had my back. And you know, you say that you knew who she was, and he would say the same thing about me. Like, he saw my worth long before I did and held that unconditional love in that space for me to walk the healing path, to discover it myself. And I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for the love and the space that he held for me to walk that path. And you've been that loving, that unconditionally loving force for Mandy in her life, that sustaining force that allows for her to feel secure, to get messy on the healing path, which is just, I mean, I just think anybody on the planet would think that they won the lottery if they got themselves a Scotty or a Jonathan, because I mean, really, we're so incredibly lucky through everything that we've gone through to find this person that sees us at our core, the beauty that we have within, even before we see it, and holds that light, you know, for us, so we can meet you where you already see we are. It's so beautiful. So I'd like to both of you guys to share. Amanda, you can give the details from your perspective. I want you to talk about the little affair that happened and how you guys were able to work through it and overcome it as well, because a lot of relationships are broken up as a result of that. And here you guys are together, thriving.
Okay. Well, there was, I'm going to say multiple. I'm going to say, because affairs can also be emotional. They can also be like sexual, all the different kinds of affairs. But I would say I had 2 or 3 before the actual affair that I had. Emotional affairs.
Okay.
But some of them got physical, but it wasn't like, you know, full-fledged sex. But it did, some of them got a little physical. And each time I didn't understand what I was doing. I was like, why am I would come to him after it was said and done. I mean, I'm feeling turmoil on the inside. I've got this person over here that absolutely adores me, could always see me. I couldn't see me. I didn't know who the hell I was. And I talk about that in my book. I thought I was washed up trash. And so I would go and do these things, and I would be like, why am I doing this? You know, what is going on? And I would be so hurt and so wounded from myself that I would come to him and be like, okay, babe, I need to talk to you. Scared to death every time I come and talk to him. And he'd be like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And I would be on the phone with like people from church or somebody accountable, somebody I could be accountable to figure out what the hell I was doing. And so I would have these little moments that people would come in. I remember like little sessions I would have with people, but it was more like slapping a band-aid over it.
Surface.
Yeah, surface shit, not real shit. Like I'm talking, we need sometimes. I mean, it was all about, well, give you some scriptures and Jesus can heal you and all this. No, 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 no. I didn't need any of that garbage. I mean, I'm not saying that I needed something deep. I needed something. I needed someone to dive straight into where the hell this was coming from, so I could stop being this destruction to myself and hurting my family, hurting him. So when it came down to it, and it was 15 years ago, the one that the year-long affair that I had, and I have journals upon journals of just like writing my emotions and my feelings of what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this? And the whole time wanting to talk to him about it because I had no idea what to do about it or how to get the help. I would go to churches. I would go do this. I would go do that. I would, I needed something, to help me. And thankfully, I did find someone who was a Christian. I didn't give a shit who it was. I'm like, give me somebody, but it was, I don't know. I hated myself so much. I wanted something to fulfill me. And when I was in the midst of having I was very much not present with my family.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time I was not present, and I was with, everything was about this other person who was highly abusive, I might add.
It was a trauma bond.
It was a trauma bond.
Yeah.
And it was like his demons and my demons met each other, and so
and you said this went on for a year?
Yeah.
And Jonathan, were you aware of it at all during that time?
I had suspicions, I guess. But what's crazy is he was a good friend of mine. So
wow.
Yeah.
So did that hurt your friendship after you found out?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
A little bit. I mean, I only hung out with him once a week instead of like 3 times a week.
We talked a little bit now. Yeah.
So you had your suspicions, but you didn't know that this was going on. And did Mandy come and confess?
Well, it was not physical that whole year. It was an emotional affair that led to the climax of the physical.
Wait, so was there only one physical indiscretion?
We had sex twice.
You had sex twice. Okay, cool.
It was at the end, but the rest of the time was phone sex and like just emotional bonding like the entire time.
Got it. Yeah, so you were able to keep it on the DL a little bit easier.
Right. Yeah. But I would go over and see him a lot or whatever, like yeah.
And after the second time, like what was the breaking point that made you decide that you were going to confide in Jonathan and stop?
Well, after it happened, I wanted to go get help. I knew I was fighting with myself the entire year, and I wanted to go get help for that whole year, and I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I was hurting so badly, and then in the process hurting someone that I love. So I wanted so badly to get help, but I didn't know who to reach out to. So right before we actually like did the deed, like I was already in the process going, who can help me, who can help me, who can help me, but so anyways, it just pushed over into another area, and we just went for it. And then so after that, that's when everything solidified for me, because it was like it was 2 times in one day. So after that happened, it was the next morning, and that's when everything clicked in. And that's when people don't realize, like, after it's when you are slapped with everything that you just did, and it just hits you upside the face. And I talk about this in the book too, but I wanted I wanted the security of Jonathan again. That's what I wanted. I wanted to feel his security and safety. I wanted him to be as close to me as humanly possible. And yet I couldn't even hardly look at him because I had just betrayed him.
Yeah.
Like, really, really betrayed him, which tore me up inside. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was like, that's whenever, I mean, like, I went in to see him and be with him. And then I just couldn't even, I didn't even open the door. I couldn't. And then that's whenever I took off running down the road. And I found a cliff and I wanted to jump off.
Wow.
So I got real close to hurting. Either I don't know if that cliff was high enough. There was a lot of big rocks down below. I don't know if that would have killed me, but I didn't care. I wanted to be in pain. Because of the pain I was causing him, I wanted that pain. I wanted all of it. So I almost committed suicide that day, or tried to. And so thankfully I didn't, because that's the only thing that gave me peace and I wanted to take myself out, because I thought, if I'm taken out of here, I will never be able to hurt somebody again, especially the people that I love. I will never be able to hurt them. And so if I'm out of here, this destruction's over, you know? And so that's the way I was thinking. But I don't know. On that cliff that day, I something was there. Something stopped me because I wouldn't be telling you this amazing story if, so something stopped me. And there's many things. I think that there was like such an angelic presence around me. I think that what I love about this is, in the midst of all the chaos, in the midst of all the pain, in the midst of all the destruction, we cannot see, when you're in the very deep middle of it, you cannot see what the whole reasoning and purpose for all of this is for.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
You have no idea. I had no idea. I just thought there was a 100% no hope. So that's where I was. And then, do you want to take it from here?
Well, I guess it was a couple of days after that, right? We were at work,
Mm-hmm.
and we worked together at the time, and we went on our lunch break. Thankfully, we were not around a bunch of people at the lunch break, but as we were eating, Mandy's talking about how she feels kind of sick, almost like she's pregnant. And I was like, well, we haven't had sex in a long time, so I don't think you're pregnant. And she just starts crying and says, I had sex with Jeremy. And I was like, oh, fuck. And we were in a public place, I'm like, so I'm just sitting there stunned, basically. And we have to go back to work, and, it was
Life, like you didn't just have the carpet like pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No big deal. By the way, I slept with your friend. Let's go back to work. I could see how she would have done it in a place like that, just because it would have lessened the blow for her. Like you have to process in a space where you can't be like fully emotional. And then by the time you get home, hopefully you'll calm down a little bit, because you're out of control, obviously.
No, but I was pretty much silent the whole rest of the day when it came to her. I remember later on in the day, I had to go to the post office for work, and I just lost it, just bawling my eyes out in the car. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call or anything. So I called my mom, because her and my dad had kind of been through something similar. And unfortunately, they weren't able to make it through, but at least I knew she had some experience, and maybe she could offer some advice, And she told me, she was like, don't overreact. She's a hurting girl, and you know this, and if anybody can make it work, you guys can. And I was like, oh, wow, okay.
That's incredible.
Thanks, Mom.
So where was your head at that point? Like, how did you reconcile things to stay and help her get through it?
I had a friend, a really, really good friend at the time, who had also been through something like that in his marriage. And he told me, he was like, because me and Mandy had a talk. We were like, I was like, do you want this? Are you in this? Do you want this? Because
Yeah.
we're going to have to work. We're going to have to work really hard. And she said yes, through tears. And she said yes. And I told my friend this, and he was like, well, if she's willing to work, then do it. He's like, but watch her. You'll know by her actions whether she's actually in this or not. And because in his situation, his wife also wanted to get things right, but she never could. She kept going back to the dude and kept going back to the dude. So that's why he was like, just watch her and, see by her actions if she's serious.
And
and it kind of just went from there. We just had lots of talks, sitting on the floor in our bathroom, both crying. And the thing about the situation is she was taking all the blame.
yeah.
And he was gaslighting her to do so. And it was ridiculous. And I kept telling her this, and she was like, no, it's not him. Don't, because she was trying to tell me not to hold anything against him. It's not his fault. This is all me. And I kept saying, no, it is not all you.
It takes two. Absolutely.
Yep. And finally one day, it just like light bulb for her. She was like, he did this and this and this. And she starts talking about in all the ways that he was basically grooming her to do this for a year.
Wow.
I'm like, there it is. There it is. And from that point on, it was a crazy, awesome, gut-wrenching, beautiful, healing time for us.
Wow.
Yeah, it started like I remember those talks in the bathroom, because I think that was around the time when I was crying so much, and since I had been raped and everything, I remember, telling you that it's all my fault. It's all my fault. That was it. That was in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, what is your fault? I was like, all of it. And that's whenever you said to me, you were like, you were raped.
Yeah.
Like, that was not your fault. And like, I remember him looking me in the face going, you need to be able to release yourself from this. You did not create this. You never wanted that. That is something that was taken from you. Thus the reason why all the destruction and all the stuff, But I do want to say that I blamed myself because I made the first move. That's why I blamed myself. Everything in my body, because your body will tell you what's off and what is, like, your body will communicate with you. And when you have this nervous, how do you describe it? I knew in that moment connecting to him was the wrong choice. I knew it, I felt it, but something was pulling me in to be in that with him. So I blamed myself because I started it.
At least you thought you started it.
I think I started it.
I think yeah, but there was a piece of you that was like, if I do this, this is what's going to blow everything up and push things over the edge so I can end it. You know what I mean? It was a beginning, but an end. And I think that it's really important. Society in general really villainizes the person who goes off and cheats on their partner. And I think this is a really important conversation to be had, because I know you, and your whole life you've been nothing but love, and you've done nothing but bend over backwards and hurt yourself to try to seek approval from an outside source. And it's never been your intention to ever hurt anybody. And yet you were a human wrecking ball. And it wasn't from a place of consciously being out and malicious and looking to harm others in any way. It was purely motivated by the dysfunctional programming that was born out of a whole lifetime of childhood trauma. And what your relationship with love and your relationship with sex looked like. And because every time you had a traumatic experience with, particularly with sex, you went and talked to a pastor and he did nothing but give you fucking scriptures and prayers to do, you didn't get any kind of healing for the trauma that was done. And there was no real conversation to be had to tell you that young men should be taught to hold safe space for a girl, and that consent is a thing. And that unless you get consent from that girl and you know that she is completely in it and she knows what she's doing, giving her consent, it should not be happening. And it is very clear, particularly from the first instance that you experienced, that you were not giving consent.
No.
You weren't.
No.
You didn't say no, but you were paralyzed.
Right.
Yeah.
You weren't able to say no. So it wasn't your fault being that age, being put in a situation. Last time I checked, it should have been the adults knowing that that was a stupid thing, because when a parent lets their child go off and do whatever they do, can they trust that the other parent is actually a reliable, responsible parent? Clearly, the mother in that situation wasn't, because she took off and allowed for her son to do what he did. And I don't think she knew he was going to, but she promised to supervise you and didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
And you were put in this situation. But there was never a conversation after you were raped to say, Mandy, the adults who were supposed to be responsible and protect you didn't. And the young man who did what he did was a predator. And he should not have done what he did, because there is not a man on the planet that should ever touch a woman without her consent.
No.
I don't care if the woman is in the bed with you and she has agreed to sleep with you that night. You should not be reaching for anything at all.
Mm-mm.
And yet, I think there's one man that I have slept with in my whole life that didn't reach for shit when I was in a bed with them. And that's the man that I've been with for 10 years.
Mm-mm.
And I had this conversation with him this morning, and he was surprised to hear that he's the only one who actually held safe space for me and didn't try to coerce me into sleeping with him. Most men, they think, have the right that if you're in their bed to touch you. Most men think that's okay. And it's not, because consent was not given. Coercing a woman ever at all is not okay. And the one place that I see consent being educated is in the BDSM community. What? Pretty sure everybody on this planet's having sex, so why isn't this in sex ed? Because in sex ed, we talk about the sexual organs, condoms, pregnancy, and then don't have sex.
Right.
Right.
Now, that works out well for everybody, doesn't it? I don't remember a conversation about consent. So the young men who are horn dogs are not actually properly being educated about how to hold space for a girl. They're just horny and they're pushing for the thing that their hormones are screaming at them to get, right?
Right.
Our society is not preparing us for the responsibility that we're going to carry when we engage in that act. So women aren't being taught to hold their ground and to stand in their power. Men are not being taught to hold safe space and to respect consent or get consent. So from both sides, it is messy and disgusting. And from both sides, there is dysfunction and trauma and a lack of education. And we are both blessed to have partners that somehow figured out that they should maybe hold safe space. And we had that, and it's beautiful the way that it is. And I'm telling you guys this, that are watching this, Because the person that goes out and has sex with somebody else when they have a loving partner at home isn't doing it because they're an asshole. They're not doing it because they're malicious. They're not doing it because they're a dick and they have no fucks to give. They're not doing it because they don't love the person that's at home. They're doing it because they were traumatized and their relationship with sex, their relationship with love was distorted and fucked up from a young age. And nobody stepped up to help them heal the trauma and to make sense of things. And so, yes, they become a human wrecking ball, and the pain they carry and the guilt they carry as a result is more than the person that actually gets hurt. And I know Mandy can attest to that. There is pain on both sides.
Yep.
We need to give love to the person who's been wounded and the person who did the wounding, because the person who did the wounding is hurting and has been hurting for so much longer, and nobody held space for them to reconcile their shit. And I'm sorry, Christianity and all you people that are all about your Christianity, scriptures and prayers aren't going to fix this problem, okay? They're not.
They're not.
So can you guys just take a second and just help me understand what has gotten you to where you're at today, sitting next to each other, loving each other as much as you do? What has helped you to get through this?
I would say for me, one of the things that really helped me initially in the beginning was I decided, what's my role in this? I'm not going to point the finger at her and just, blame her for all of this. I know I had a role to play. So I started getting pretty introspective, just looking at me and being like, okay, what do I need to change? And one of the things that I realized is I didn't come into this relationship scot clean. I had my own insecurities. I had my own trauma.
Of course.
And which really caused me to shut down emotionally. And I was shut down emotionally for most of my life because I was made to feel like I wasn't enough, basically. And I brought that into our marriage. And Mandy always desired that emotional connection with me that I wasn't able to give because I was so shut down. She would ask me how I feel, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Feelings.
What mean feeling? I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
I felt like Mr. Spock.
That's amazing.
But yeah, and I also realized that I heard something. It was a pastor because that was what I was in at that time, but it was really eye-opening for me. He was talking about when in the Bible it says that God was going to create a helpmate for Adam. In the original Hebrew, that actually means the strength opposite me. And that blew my mind because I'm like, holy shit, she is the strength opposite me. She has so many things that I don't have, but that I need, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it really helped me realize that I had been trying to, I think subconsciously, a lot of married couples do this. They try to make the other in their image.
Yeah.
And they end up just loving the reflection of themselves in that person rather than actually loving them for who they are.
Yeah.
And I realized I've got to let her go. I've got to let her go because she's a free spirit and I can't keep trying to hold on so tightly. I've got to let her go. And just in that act alone, I had her stronger than ever.
That's so beautiful that you say that, Jonathan, because I'm very blessed to have a partner that actually never tried to hold on to me and never tried to put me in a cage or control me or bind me. And I felt like in all of my relationships in my life, because they were looking at this beautiful, powerful woman. They figured if they could cage me and bind me and bring me down to their level, then I would stay. And it was the first time that I'd ever been in a relationship with somebody that gave me complete freedom and saw this wildcat and said, you don't put a wildcat in a cage. That's death and destruction for all, because she'll break out and she'll eat you and a bunch of other things on the way. Like, this is just, let the wildcat roam free.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And he knew what to do to entice me. Chocolate works every time. You know what I mean? It's like, and once in a while she'll slow down and need to be nurtured. So be there when she needs it, you know, like girls get periods. So like hop on that. You know what I mean? Like, he knew what to do, but giving me that freedom and that safe space always is what made me love him and why I love him today, because I didn't have that before. And it's enabled me to grow as much as I have over the 10 years and bring all of the things that I have to the relationship and shift and expand as much as I have, because I knew that he wasn't attached to any version of me and trying to keep me the way that I was when we first met. I was able to shift and expand and change and bring new ideas and evolve the relationship and us as a couple. And we just expanded together. So you're totally right. Like, trying to treat your partner like a possession to be owned and controlled is completely archaic thinking. Yes, once upon a time, men did own women like a possession, but that's not the way that it ever should have been. And we need to let go of that and understand that when we come together in a relationship, we're coming together in interdependence. That, Jonathan, you are a powerhouse God in your own right. And Mandy, you are a beautiful, powerful goddess in your own right. And you are each other's balancer, equaler, opposites. And that, Jonathan, you're meant to create a beautiful life in service of yourself, owning your power. And Mandy, you're meant to do the same for yourselves. And you cheerlead each other in doing so. And when you figure that out, that you're not there to fix the other person. I'm here to do me, you do you, we cheerlead each other, and we expand together. That's when a relationship truly thrives. And instead of being afraid of change, embracing it.
Right.
You know, I want to open this relationship up. Cool. What would that even look like? Let's have a conversation about that. Or I want to move to Nantucket. Okay, what would that look like? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's change, but like, let's have a conversation, because maybe that's exactly what we need. The only constant is change. So trying to keep things static and trying to hold on to the person and trying to keep them who they were when you first met them makes you a ticking time bomb as a relationship. So I love what you just said. It's incredibly powerful. And I really love what you said about the Hebrew term that means, tell me again, the Hebrew term.
The strength opposite me.
The strength opposite you. That is so incredibly beautiful, because as a hypnotherapist, I learned that we, as a result of our subconscious programming, attract our opposite and our balancer. It's innate within us. Our mental operating system just creates that. And I've been doing this for 10 years, and there is not a couple that I have worked with that is not each other's opposite. They always are. It's subconscious. It's just the way that it is. The only time that we don't attract our opposite is when we're taking a break from relationships. If we're like just having fun on the side, we'll attract somebody who's more like us to take a break from all the bullshit from being with our opposite. Because it's fun, but it can be challenging and frustrating for so many reasons too, right? So we do by nature attract our balancer, but I've never heard that Hebrew term, that explanation. So I think that's so beautiful, and how that created that aha moment in you. And when you look at these root teachings, when you go back to the core teachings of scripture at its roots, not translated into English, it actually calls out that she is a powerhouse in her own right, and she is your equal.
Yep.
How beautiful is that? So what is it that's enabled you guys to endure 30 years together, more than 30 years together, but 30 years of marriage? Because you guys just celebrated, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
February 12th.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at currently in your relationship, and what has helped you get to where you are right now?
I think we have always had, we've talked about this so many times, but ever since we first met, we have always had this foundational just love for one another.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we've been through, that
Mm-hmm.
has always upheld us in our relationship.
It's deep.
Yeah,
It's really
it's
deep.
really hard to explain, honestly.
It is because we've always been super connected. Like I just let him be him and he lets me be me. And I remember going back to your question a while ago. I remember because whenever he was talking about the strength opposite of each other, like what helped me a lot too was him looking at himself, and he began to heal as I began to heal. That was a big deal because like when people go through affairs or when people have like these experiences, it really does take two people
Mhm.
to be willing to look at each individual like at themselves. And he did that. And like he could have said, and that's what I say in my book too, is he could have said, fuck you, you're a whore, you're a slut, I'm out. He didn't. He was like, what have I done? Or how have I contributed? And then started digging into his life, into himself and healing that. And then we started getting on a path where and we were coming out of like Christianity and all the things that we had learned there, which was nothing. I mean, for us it was like manipulation and control and all the religious things of men and things like that, and we began to like have more of a freedom. But even after the affair and all the things that happened, I still had moments where I was scared. I still had moments that I would hear from someone from my past, or they wanted, and I would come to him and be like, I need to have closure in this relationship. So and so has messaged me, and I'm talking to them right now. And there were times I was still scared because I was still on my healing journey.
Yep.
And so I was still afraid of myself, learning how to trust myself. But the more he said, I'm going to be over here and I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to heal me. You do you. I trust you. I mean, it was this underlying deep thing that both of us had for each other. And I took care of it and have been freed ever since, like because he let me go. Because before it was like he said, it's easy for us to want the other person to be like us, but he just backed off and let me. He was like, okay, and he focused on him, and it just helped. It like, I don't know, we've always. And so I remember one of the things that helped us was we had to change our filter. So he taught me this because all of our married life, anytime we had an argument or a fight or anything like that, I would say,
She thought it was the end.
yeah, I thought it was over. I'm like, okay, well, where's the divorce papers? Like I'm ready to sign.
Wait, no.
Yeah, he'd have to explain to me.
Yep, I did the same thing to Scott. I totally get it. We get in an argument. I'd be like, okay, that's it. We're done. Go.
Yeah,
Pack your shit, get out of the house. And he'd be like, whoa, 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 calm down. It's just a fight. We can get through this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you don't have like the structures and you're not taught the structures of relationships and how they really do work and move around and dance and with each other, and it's beautiful. Like these are the things that happen. But I remember, wait, I just lost my thought. What was it? Filter. Yes. Thank you.
Change your filter.
Yeah, he did. He said to me one time, he was like, every time you get upset with me, or every time we have a fight or an argument, or we're in a place of not agreeing or hurting or whatever we're doing in that moment, he said the very first thing that needs to cross your mind is, he was saying this to me. So he was saying, your filter needs to be, he loves me. He loves me. That is the very first thing you need to think. That is the very first thing that needs to cross it. That's your filter. I'm telling you,
a big neon sign in front of your face being like, Jonathan loves me. Jonathan loves me. I'm pretty sure if he could have done that, he probably would have.
I'm telling you, that's one of the things that I swear has helped us so much, because every time from that moment on, every single time, something would happen and we would be in that moment of hurt or pain or healing or whatever we were doing or arguing or whatever it was, and that would go across my mind, he loves me, and it would make everything calm down
instead of it's over.
Yeah, instead of it's over, we're done, whatever.
Yeah, I totally honor that. Scott had to remind me that many times, when we were having a difficult time and he was giving me feedback, because I would take it so personally, and he'd be like, honey, like, I'm not mad at you. It's not that I don't like you. It's just what's going on isn't working for me. Like, we need to figure, this is a problem. Like, we're not having a meeting of the minds on this or something. But like, I always took it personally, like he didn't like me, and clearly this wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? So I totally understand that. And that it's so beautiful to be able to stop and remind yourself what the filter is for everything that you're receiving. I had to do the same thing with my angel, because coming through the teenage years into adulthood and stuff like that, there was a lot of this, you did this and you did that, and reconciling, things that I did when he was younger. And I said to him, look, when you're sitting there mapping out all the things that you did that you feel hurt you, it's valid and your feelings are valid. I just want you to think to yourself, whatever she did it because she loves me. So I need to go ask her what her motivation was and what was going on from her side of it, because from my side of it, it hurt, but I don't know her side of it. And then we'd be able to have that conversation. And when he would get my side of the story, he'd be like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like, it was hard being a single mother, and I get what you had to do now. You know what I mean? So it's beautiful that you've been able to put that little tool in place that's really helped to filter things in a beautiful way, to work through things, because every time, all the time, it is you two against the problem. Right. And most couples do not see it that way, and they allow the problem to get in between the two of them and put them at odds. But if you always remember, as a couple, it is the two of you against the world. It is the two of you against the problem. And you're working together to work it through. Even if you have a difference of opinion, you find a way to unite and to work together.
Right.
That's so beautiful. Right.
And it's really cool too, how we've, through the last 15 years, our healing journey, our healing processes, we both grew so much. Like, we got out of the religious system, which healed us the most, I would say, because he was diving into the Bible, and like reading all of what the dead languages were and all the things, like really understanding all of this. I have nothing. I don't know. I threw my Bible out a long time ago.
She's like, this shit fucked me up. It's going in the garbage.
But because there's an unconditional love that I have now, that with 100% no conditions. And I learned, like, there's a lot of good things. There's a lot of good things in the Bible. There's also a lot of terrible things, just like anything. But I literally thought God was going to strike me down. I thought, God's going to strike me down like with lightning after I throw this out. But I needed a refreshing. I needed to know what true, source love was, and like the divine. I wanted to know what that unconditional, because I had walked through it. I had, with the affair I had, with the love that I have sitting here, like I knew that there was something deeper with unconditional love, like that just clears out all the blocks, all the, shame, all the anything, and genuinely has this love. And I feel that now all the time for people, for myself, but that's the one thing, like, we worked really, really hard. And I wish I could just dissect all of our different transitions, because he would be over here working on him and I'd be over here working on me, and there was a lot of times we would have like talks about beliefs and things like that I loved, like, and there were some things he believed that I didn't believe, and some things I believed that he didn't believe in, but we didn't care. We were just so connected, You know?
doing the work and figuring it out. And I think that's really interesting too, is that everybody does have a different way of processing things. Scott was very much like you, Mandy, where, you know, he questioned religion and it didn't work for him and he just chucked it out and decided he was going to believe in aliens. And I left the church and became analytical, and I analyzed all of the teachings of the church, and I learned about other religions, and then looked at thought processes outside of religion, spirituality and stuff like that, and became one of those, you know, people that was just like analyzing things like Jonathan, and made sense of everything through analysis and picking what was right for me and discarding what was disempowering. And each person's process that they're going to go through, it has to be the way that it is.
Yeah.
Like if you had to follow Jonathan down the analytical road, you'd just be like, what is he even saying? I don't care. Like what? And same thing with Scott. If he had to walk that path with me, just be like, why are you dragging me to another goddamn full moon ceremony? This is so whatever. Don't care. But you know what he did go to a few things to me. I only made him go to a few things with me, but like really being allowed to go on your separate path and knowing that you don't have to be unified and go about your healing path or processing things the same way together, side by side, and letting each other go and do it the way that it's unique to you, and being able to do what you guys did and come back together and discuss your discoveries and your aha moments is what's really beautiful. And for all the work that I've done and all of the analysis and all of the tearing things apart and creating spreadsheets, and oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It's amazing how much Scott has absorbed, and how when I've been in moments of turmoil and struggle, he's fed my own words back at me. And it floors me how much he does absorb. So even when you do separate, the learning does permeate the other person, even though they weren't there with you when it all happened, because it's so much of it becomes a part of you. And then you end up regurgitating it in conversations with friends and all the rest of that. And it just becomes a part of who you are. So you absorb that learning together and you expand together, even when you're doing it separately. You know what I mean? So I love that you talk about that, Jonathan, and that you said like that we do really try to make the person follow our path and be like us. And that's not the path to walk. The path is actually to encourage the other person to process things their own way, do things their own way. Even if it looks like they're walking away and throwing things away and not analyzing and processing the way that you do because you're analytical, or the way I am because I'm an analyzer as well. That's their way of doing things. And it's beautiful and it's perfect the way that it is, right? You're expanding on your own path. I always say that I'm a Bugatti Veyron and Scott's a dune buggy. I am streaming along at 300 kilometers an hour, right? Like just breakneck speed, turbo on, nitrous boost, the whole 9 yards. I'm just going, right? I'm like quantum leaping over here. And Scott's in his dune buggy playing Christmas music. And I'm just like, I'm not chilling in your car. I can't listen to that shit year round. That's too much for me. But every once in a while, I come and I circle back to his dune buggy and I'm like, how you doing? He'd be like, I'm good, man. My favorite Christmas song is playing. I'm good. Go. So it just works out so beautifully. He's happy listening to his country music going 20 kilometers an hour. And I'm happy in my sports car going 300 kilometers an hour. And as long as we circle back once in a while, we're good. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So which one's the sports car and which one's the dune buggy?
I don't know if either one of us is a sports car.
I don't know.
That's so funny. You should think about that. See if you can figure out which cars you are, because that's actually it's so fun.
Okay, let's do that. We'll explore that. That's fun.
So
you're a luxury vehicle.
I do, yeah. Oh, I can totally see that.
What kind of a luxury vehicle is she?
All the bells and whistles.
Are you like a Lexus, or are you like
SUV?
Yeah, she loves SUVs.
Oh,
41.
like
Yeah.
a Maserati SUV? She's like, what's a Maserati?
She was like,
I don't know cars.
And what's funny is I pointed one out to her like a week ago. I was like, look, there's a Maserati.
That's so funny. I love it. And Mandy, what would Jonathan be if you could liken him to a vehicle?
That is a great question. I really am going to have to process that.
VW bus with all the hippie shit on it. No, I'm just kidding.
I do love your hippie though. I really do, because we both like have more and more like our free spirits and stuff. And I do have to say, one of the things I want to say is I do highly like where we've come from and the work that we've done. I really want to say that I highly respect other people and their belief systems. If you read the Bible, if you don't read the Bible, if you worship Buddha, that's not even, I love Buddha. Anyways, if you are
People worship Buddha, it's a thing.
Okay, worship Buddha. Allah, I do not care. Like, I literally respect the hell out of every single person and where they are on their life path and journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful. Wherever you are, great. Whatever you believe, awesome. You know, I think we're individuals. We have our own unique essence, you know, and I find it fascinating. One of my favorite questions to people is, what do you believe? Because I'm genuinely curious, you know, because I just love to hear people's expressions of what they're feeling, you know. No debating or anything like that. That's bullshit. Who has time for that?
Well, actually, the art of debating has been lost, because true debate is about expressing different ideas and having a productive conversation.
Right. Not have an argument. Right.
And when people walk away from a debate, they've shared ideas and they've argued their thought processes, and then they just walk away, right? Not attached to anything. And that art in itself has actually been lost in today's world, because most people are actually trying to force their opinion down somebody's throat.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
So debate is actually really healthy. And if we could teach people how to debate again and have that be more commonplace, it would actually be significantly healthier. And I think, Mandy, you would probably attest to this, that the more you learn to love yourself, the more you embrace yourself and you reconcile your trauma, the more you actually celebrate diversity and want to dance in other people's thought processes and be more inclusive and celebrate other people and everything, as a result of the fact that you're comfortable in your own ideology, in your own morals, in your own ethics, in your own concepts of what the world is, right?
Right.
The more insecure and traumatized and messed up, and, you know, the more you don't trust yourself and all the rest of that, the harder it is to have conversations with people, because you're not solid in anything. Right? Like, think about when you were talking about how you were terrified to get into the relationship with Jonathan because you couldn't trust yourself.
Right.
You knew you were a human wrecking ball. You said you didn't, but you fucking knew you were. You knew you were going to hurt him. You didn't want him to get into the relationship. You didn't know why you did what you did. You didn't know when you were going to do what you were going to do, but you knew that you were getting hurt and hurting, and you didn't know how to stop that cycle, which is why he would come to you and talk to you, and then you'd be like, nope, I'm not doing this again. Right?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Exactly. But now that you've walked the path, and you're standing in your power, and you're self-communicating, and you understand who you are, and you know who you are on this life path, and you've created this beautiful, healthy relationship by walking individual healing paths, you know how to be responsible for and accountable for what it is that you do. You know how to source what it is that you do to stop it so it doesn't happen again. You have a relationship with your mind and body. You know how to reconcile past trauma now. You're not going off and acting out, not knowing where it's coming from or how to stop it anymore. Right. You have a beautiful relationship of trust with yourself now.
Yeah. Do you know how good that feels?
I actually do. Yes. A lot of people don't, but yes, we definitely both do. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to. I was just at the gym yesterday being a bitch. But I was at the gym with Scott, and my body has just been like, it's been a pain. It's been warning me about getting a flow for like 9 days. I had 5 down days yesterday because my body was just like, hi, I'm going to flow. And then it didn't. But I was getting like all the symptoms, and it was starting to stress me out. And then I've been really emotional. And Scott looked at me and was like, you are being such a bitch right now. And I looked at him and was like, I don't hear myself giving attitude. And he's like, but you're giving so much sass. And I was like, okay, I don't know what, do I just not open my mouth? Like, I'm not sure because I'm not hearing it, but I'm sorry. And then I looked at him and I was like, you know what? My body is doing shit I don't understand. And it's actually scaring me a little bit, and I'm not sure what to do. And it's clearly causing me to be a little bit more moody than usual. So can you just like be gentle with me right now while I figure this out? And he went, absolutely, sweetheart. You tell me what you need me to do.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Right?
Right? What if we
Him
sorry.
being able to call me out in my bitchiness and me being able to stop and reflect because I didn't even realize it, and then go, yeah, okay, here's what's going on. And then for him to go, okay, yeah, I hear that. I'm going to be gentle. What do you need? How many couples are having that conversation
Right.
of truly being honest about what they're receiving, and then being accountable for their actions, and then figuring out a game plan as a couple?
Exactly. Exactly. Like being able to
Huge.
communicate that. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like, and to be able to say, and what you just did was you gave him understanding of where you were.
Yeah.
And then whenever we can do that, and that powerful. When couples can do that, when people in relationships can do that. Hey, I'm having a moment right now. I'm scared. You went deeper into that space where you were and was able to express it. And because of that, he had compassion. That's what we do in relationships. We can have more compassion. There's been many times where I've told him, I'm in a space right now. I'm going through this right now. I'm feeling this right now. Please don't take that personally. It has nothing to do with you, and having that communication with each other. Powerful.
To be able to call that out is huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to walk the healing process to be able to understand how it works and to be able to self-reflect. And when I first started it, it took me sometimes days to source where it was coming from and to reconcile it and then go back to him and tell him what was going on. The timeout I needed was longer. Now, because I've been doing this for 10 years, he can be like, you're being a bitch. And then I can be like, and he doesn't always use the B word. Sometimes he's like, you're being really sassy, or you're being really moody, or whatever. You know what I mean? Scott is the sweetest man on the planet. I swear to God. But like when he reflects that back at me, I can just immediately, like within seconds, go, wait, hold on a second. Yes, this is what's going on. I'm in turmoil. Let me process this. And then he goes, okay, cool. I'm holding space for you. Like it happens so much faster now. Right?
Yeah.
So for those of you guys that are listening to what we're talking about, and you're in a space where, you're not communicating like that yet, please know that this comes from the individual being able to create that relationship with themselves and learning how to self-communicate, and then developing that relationship over time for that turnaround to be, and that communication to be that quick. All of that happened in 2 minutes, probably less, because we were doing one exercise and that conversation happened over a couple of sets. So like, if you desire to be able to do this, know that it can happen, but you've got to say yes. You've got to step up. You've got to work with somebody like me that understands how to teach you how to do this so you can develop that. It's not just like, hi, I really like what she was saying. I'm going to go do that now. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay. This is something I've developed over years of self-communicating to be able to do that. But even just being able to say to your partner when they're being moody, you're giving me a lot. Okay, I'm just going to hold on a second. Do you mind if I give you some feedback right now? We want to make sure that this is permission-based when you're first starting, okay? So don't just go to your partner and tell them they're being a bitch and expect a good response, because it's not going to be received well.
No.
If you say to your goddess, do you mind if I give you some feedback right now? And she'll be like, okay, sure. What's going on? I'm noticing that you're being a little bit angrier towards me, and I'm not sure what's going on. Can you explain what's going on in your head right now so I can support you? Then you're going to get the, oh my God, yeah, I'm about to flow. I'm PMSing, or I had something go on at work and I'm bringing it home, or, you know, like I did something really shitty and I'm kind of eating it right now, like whatever it is, just make sure that, did you hear what Jonathan said? Anytime we have a conversation, can you please put on the neon sign saying, I love you? Make sure that you are telling the person, I love you. I want to communicate with you so I can understand why all of a sudden there's discord that I can't understand. Preface every conversation with love.
Yeah.
Then get into it. It only flows as easily as it does with us because we've been practicing. We've given each other permission to be unfiltered with each other. We've been doing this for a long time. So when Scott gives me that feedback, he doesn't need to preface it anymore. I know he loves me. He can just say the thing and I can self-reflect and we've got it all. It's a well-oiled machine, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to be gentle for all of you guys who are listening to this and have never heard all of this done before. Please don't just go to your girlfriend or wife and be like, you're being a bitch right now and expect that to work out well, because it won't.
That's also going to go over well.
You're going to get something thrown at you or you're going to die a slow, painful death. Either way, it's not going to go well. So please don't. So we could do this forever because you guys are just so incredibly beautiful. But if you could each, as a couple, before we do this amazing thing we're going to do, if you could each take turns and just give the audience a takeaway of just one of the little secret spices that you think makes the relationship work for you guys today, what would you guys share with the audience that you would think they could bring into their relationship to give them the longevity and the beauty that you guys share right now?
I think definitely for me, just reiterating what I said earlier, is be willing to have open hands and let your partner be who they are, not who you want them to be or made in your image, but
Or put them in a cage.
just give them that space, to
Mhm.
be them and love that.
Love that. Exactly.
He speaks from like experience, because one of the things I'm just gonna share with that, with one of the things
You're
with
throwing
years
me under the bus. What are you doing?
never there's no under the bus here. No, but one of the things, like, years ago that he didn't, I was raised with country music. I absolutely love country music. It just makes me feel loved. It makes me feel close to my dad. It just something that melts my heart, and I absolutely love it. Well, he didn't, like, he wasn't like, that wasn't a big deal for him.
Me too. Scott loves country. I don't.
Well, I mean, and I understand that, I really do. But for years, he didn't know how to love that part of me. That's a part of me.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to love that part of me. Now, since he 100% loves every part of me, he has taken me to my favorite country music concerts and enjoyed the hell out of it, just watching me have fun. Like, that is huge. That's, how much work we've been doing over these years, and he just, he would surprise me with this. He would just love taking me to my favorite people, watching them sing and play, and me just dancing around and having so much fun. And he would enjoy it with me, dance with me, be there in the moment with me.
Yeah.
So, like, he speaks this from complete experience when he's talking about this.
So, Mandy, what is your secret spice that you would share with the audience?
I would say get to know, one of my biggest things is valuing yourself. To value who you are, to know what your likes, you don't like the relationship with yourself. Building a loving relationship with yourself has been one of the biggest things for me. In this whole thing, I would say. Because, again, I came from hating who I was, not knowing who I was, and then getting to know me as a friend of my own, and embracing that, and this love that I have for myself now, this care that I have for myself now. I would say that has a big part in going through and healing your your heart in whatever things have happened to you. And whatever you have to do or whoever you have to go see and be with, for someone to hold that space for you, because you having that loving relationship with yourself is really going to help you love and honor the one that you're with.
Yep.
And receive the love.
Yes, receive the love, because before I couldn't.
Because Jonathan had all the love for you, but because you didn't love yourself, you weren't receiving his love. You were a bottomless pit.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you had to put the bottom on the well so that he could put the water in and it would stay. Right? Instead of him constantly pouring the water in and he's just like, why isn't this shit filling up? I don't understand what's going on. Like, it just never, it's bottomless, right?
Right, because I was always looking for something outside of me to fulfill me. And there's nothing, nothing can do that. But when you begin to really, and I started doing things like the littlest things, like even saying the word self-love, like it's even saying that puts out a vibration of starting to get your body and your mind and your focus on that, because what we focus on, that's what we're going to have more of. So I would just do little things like that and just think about that and process it. And what does that mean for me? You know, things like that. Just, you can start with like little things to help you like love the person and the being that you are. And then being in that, you end up being able to receive this love and be able to give this, you know, and it's a flow, you know, it flows in and out and it's beautiful. So that would be.
Mandy and I were discussing this yesterday because we were taking a moment just to celebrate the work that we've done and how far we've come. And I was talking about how when Mandy and I first started working together, it was more of, you know, what do I do to get these people happy? It was always trying to get resolution to make the other people happy. And in the period of time that Mandy's been working with me, I've seen her turn around, and the latest conversations have been, this is what is right for me. I'm standing in my power. I am not exposing myself to energy that is to my detriment. I have a right to speak my truth, and I have a right to not attend that thing if I don't want to. And it's what is right for you. And you've let go of being worried about other people rejecting you, being mad at you, or you just don't care about what people think as much anymore. You do what's right for you. If a situation is to your detriment, you're not going to walk into that situation anymore. And letting go of that and standing in your power and being okay with upsetting people when you say no is so incredibly powerful. So not only has it nurtured your relationship with Jonathan, but it has allowed for you to be able to stand in your power in such a way that you don't put yourself in these situations that are to your detriment, which supports your relationship with him and with your children, because your children are now standing up and standing in their power and not bending over backwards for other people as much. Both of your daughters have said that. They're starting to speak their truth more. They're honoring their feelings and thoughts more, right? Yeah. And you're that example for them. So it's so incredibly beautiful to see how the work that you've done, how you so eagerly sought answers and eventually have found them, how it has created a beautiful cascade of events in your family, and how you guys are healing, are still healing and coming together more. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
For all of you. And I feel blessed to be a spectator. I want to say even more so because I'm a coach. But at the same time, I kind of feel like I'm sitting there and I'm getting to watch the aftermath and the beauty that is ensuing as a result. And I'm not going to lie, you guys, I have a little bit of pride when I read my words in her book, because there are things that she says in the book that are things that I've taught her. When I started reading it and I saw, you know, my words in there, I'm just like, it's so beautiful, you know, because I've gotten to influence and to love and to guide and to support and to see these beautiful things happening. And like, you publishing this book is just so incredibly powerful. For any of you guys that are listening to this story and you're still in pain and you don't have a relationship with yourself and you're afraid of what you're going to do next, and you know that you're a human wrecking ball and you don't know why you're doing it and you're powerless to stop it, and you don't want to get into relationships because you're afraid of what you're going to do, read this book, because you'll understand where the pain comes from. and you'll understand where to go next. And that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that what it looks like on the other side, God damn it, it's so beautiful. And when you get out the other side, you won't ever want to go back.
No.
No.
I know it's scary. I know that you guys think there's a monster in the closet, but guess what? The monster left a long time ago. A long time ago. The healing work can be messy, and yes, there's tears and all the rest of that, but I'm telling you, it is beautiful, and there is a step in the right direction and beauty that happens every time you take a step, every freaking time.
Yeah.
And it is so, so worth it. And Mandy's story is a testament to that. Watch this interview, watch the other interviews with her other daughters, read her book, use it to inspire you to say yes to you and walk the healing path. Because it is so worth it.
It is.
So that being said, these two have a gift that they want to share with us. And it is absolutely a gift because I kind of got a snippet of it earlier and it was like so beautiful. So I'll let you guys set up.
Okay. While you're set up, I'll just tell you.
Tell us the story.
All right, 30 years ago, when we first were starting off, and were we married then?
Yes.
Okay. He started writing this song, and I had no idea that he was working on this over the past like 3 months, and he finished the song. He's written many songs. He's actually written me other songs, but this one is so special because it really tells a story. And so he finished the song and had the surprise, could not wait to sing it for me for our 30th wedding anniversary. So that is what we're going to do. And he asked me to sing it part of it with him. So it was very special. We both cried and even whenever he sang it for Leah and Jason, they were bawling because they were just like, oh my God, I feel like you just told me a whole story, like in one song. So I'm excited and very blessed and honored that he wrote this. And now it's finished and we're going to do it for you guys. So
Mandy's whole family is very musically talented, and I've been able to see their talent over and over again. But this is a monumental moment, and to be able to celebrate their love that they've had for so many years, and to be able to essentially wrap it up with a beautiful bow with this song, I just don't think there's any better way. So thank you so much for being willing to do this and for sharing your gifts and your talents with us. Yeah, Mandy, fix the camera. Without further ado, Jonathan and Mandy Dollarhide performing the song. What is it called?
My Heart.
My Heart.
I am in his phone as my heart. So when I call him, it says my heart is calling.
Aw, I call Scott my world. So I totally get that.
That's so cute.
I only started doing that probably in the last 6 months. Isn't that funny?
Oh, really?
Yep. It took a long time for me to get there. When you're ready, my love.
All right. I apologize if I sound like garbage.
You sound perfect. I know it. I already heard
There's
you.
no garbage in this room.
Trying to set expectations low. So. All right, here we go. Started out so long ago. It was us against the world. So on fire and so in love. Just a boy and a girl. sickness and health, right from the start. Better or worse, you've always been my heart. We started our family, built our lives on love. Through all the joy and the tears, we found what we were made of. To have and to hold, right from the start. Good times and bad, you have always been my heart. Give my life to you, wanted to be everything you wanted to be. More than words can say, love you every day, with a love that knows no boundaries. Gave my life to you, I wanted to be everything you wanted to be. More than words can say, love you every day, with a love that knows no boundaries. Oh, my love I always will show. My love I'll always show. 'Cause you will always be my heart. Sorry, I was so shaky. I was about to cry the whole time.
Oh yeah, he told me he couldn't look at me like the whole time because he thought he was gonna cry.
That is so incredibly beautiful. I feel so honored to be able to hear it. Mandy told us about it in group coaching, and I, obviously wanted to hear it. And then when Mandy messaged and she was like, "What do you think about me, like us doing the song in the interview?" And I was like, "Hell yes." It's so incredibly beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your talent and your gift, and also the deep, powerful love that you have with Mandy as a witness to how you can come through, both of you, trauma and pain and hurt, even hurt that you've caused each other, and you can thrive as a couple and have a beautiful, beautiful life together when you walk the healing path for yourself and you learn to love yourself. And you sounded beautiful, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to share this with the world. I'm going to make a clip just of that song and optimize it because it's going to be awesome. I am so stoked. Thank you so much for sharing your story, guys. It's just so beautiful to have the opportunity to hear your life story as a couple. Now, for everyone who's watching this, please go and get yourself a copy of Fertile Darkness, okay? The QR code has been up in the corner this whole time. Take it, scan it, go to Amazon, get yourself a copy of this book. You will not regret it. If you are sitting in pain like Mandy was and you don't know where to turn, read this so you can empathize with her to start the journey and see what it's like to come out the other side thriving, and use that as inspiration to say yes to you and do the work. There is a light on the other side, and it's worth it, guys. It's so worth it. If Mandy hadn't have done the work, she wouldn't be celebrating the beautiful relationship that she's celebrating right now. It could have gone one way or the other, and it went the way that it did. And it is what it is because they've done the work. This doesn't happen by accident. So thank you so much for being an example of the work, and for being as brave as you are, and for holding on to the beautiful love that you had and you still have, and being an example to your beautiful daughters, your 3 beautiful daughters, so they can thrive with you guys being the lighthouses that you are.
Thank you
It's
so much.
beautiful. Thank you for each and every one of you who has joined us today. And if you're watching this after the fact, we still love you. We wish all of you guys so much love and healing. Let's see if we can get it to work. Is it going to work? Ha ha.
I'm still working on mine.
We wish you all love and healing. And we also would love to get a Google review for Mandy if you read the book. So please let her know what you thought about it. And we'll see you guys all again soon. Mwah.